Is that, okay. Okay, going to call the meeting to order. It's a public hearing on the road committee ordinance and the road commissioner ordinance. What was passed out a few minutes ago was the road committee ordinance. The commissioner ordinances are being printed as we speak, so we can get started on the road committee ordinance. What you have is the final draft in front of you. Basically, it's pretty darn close to what we discussed last time, with some changes with the help from the road commissioners and the road committee. So, I don't know if there's any reason to go word for word down through this, but, you know, you want to read part of it?
Sure.
Yeah, we can take turns.
Yeah.
Okay, introduction, section 1 title, this ordinance should be known and cited as the Town of Acton, Maine Road Committee Ordinance, and hereafter be referred as this ordinance. Section 2, authority, this ordinance is adopted pursuant to the provisions of Title 30A MRSA, Section 3001, Home Rule, and hereby replaces any and all prior versions. Section 3, purpose, the road committee is an advisory board only. The committee members will work with the road commissioners and board of selectmen to perform the duties listed below. The committee will provide non-binding recommendations to the road commissioners and board of selectmen.
Article 2, General Provisions, Section 1, Organization, Structure, and Meetings. The committee will be formed with 7 people, all of which will be voting members. 5 members will be elected at an annual town meeting for the terms of 3 years each. The additional 2 members will be the current elected road commissioners. Members with unexpired terms at the time of this adoption shall complete their original terms, therefore being elected to a 3-year term. Each year, at the first committee meeting within 30 days of the town meeting, a committee chair, vice chair, or secretary shall be elected, with these roles revocable by the same means. Either the chairman or the vice chairman must be present at each meeting. The committee meetings shall be called by the chairman or majority of the Board of Selectmen. Notices of meetings shall be posted to the public at least 7 days prior to the meeting. There shall be 4 voting members present at a committee meeting to constitute a quorum. Each year, a selectman shall be assigned by the Board of Selectmen to regularly attend committee meetings and to liaise with the committee. Said liaison shall not be a voting member of the committee.
Section 2, duties. A, turnaround easements, obtain signatures from landowners where a snowplow turnaround easement is needed after road commissioner confirmation. B, bridges, coordinate with appropriate abutting towns, if any, in the planning of bridge repairs, reconstruction. Make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen based on those communications. C, MRSA 3106, after deliverance from the Board of Selectmen, review any applications for road associations regarding Article 43 of the June 16, 2018 town meeting. Make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. RSMS, complete any gathering of data to keep the RSMS system up to date. Work with the town administrator as needed to maintain records. E, research and report any grants related to roads, bridges, and culverts in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen. F, bring forward recommendations of outside workshops or trainings to the Board of Selectmen for prior approval. G, any other duties to be performed by the committee shall be voted on and approved in advance by the majority of the committee.
Section 3, regulations. A, the committee has no purchasing authority without approval of the majority of the Board of Selectmen. B, the committee shall not communicate on behalf of the Town of Acton. Communications with any outside agency shall be as an advisory committee and only after a majority approval vote at a road committee meeting. C, all correspondence among road committee members and to any outside agency shall include the town administrator.
Section 4, responsibilities of the chairman. A, call and conduct meetings. B, inform the town administrator of the dates, times, and location of the meeting. C, consult with the secretary for preparing the meeting agenda. D, unless otherwise delegated, be the spokesperson for the committee. E, confirm all actions as voted by the committee are carried through. Section 5, responsibilities of the vice chairman. A, in the absence of the chairman, see above. Section 6, responsibilities of the secretary. A, prepare the meeting agenda. B, prepare the minutes of the meeting and file approved minutes with the town administrator. C, prepare any and all correspondence as directed by majority vote of the committee and obtain Board of Selectmen majority approval prior to the release.
Section 7, vacancies. The opening of a committee position due to member resignation or any reason other than term expiration shall be filed in the following manner. A member of the public shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen to serve the remainder of the original term. Article 3, legal status. Section 1, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon approval by secret ballot vote, on June 18th, 2019, and shall supersede any and all previous adopted documents regarding the road committee. Any additional changes must be presented to the board, to the town body in an annual town meeting. Section 2, severability. In the event of any position of this ordinance is declared invalid by the court of competent spit that one out for me.
Jurisdiction.
There we go. The remaining portion shall continue in full force and effect. Section 3, interpretation of words, phrases, and specifications provision of this ordinance shall be the responsibility of the selectmen. And that is the road committee ordinance. I want to thank all those that helped write this. The road committee had quite a bit to do with this as well, so I guess at this time we'll open it up to questions and comments. Do we have any? We're going to use the same rules as we've had in previous, 3 minutes. When you come up, all comments will be done at the podium. When you come up, just state your name and...
Yes, David Langley, District 1 Intern Road Commissioner. Section 3 on regulations, Appendix A.
Section 3.
Says the committee has no personal authority without approval of the majority of the Board of the Selectmen.
3,
Section 3, letter A.
A, you said?
Yep. So my question is where would funds come from? Just want to clarify that it wouldn't be, if we're going to be taking funds out of one of the district's line items to say from either their summer maintenance or their summer maintenance program, they need to be interacting together and see where that's going to come from. Or we're going to have a contingency fund somewheres?
Well, there's no budget for the committee. Because we don't have an ordinance in place for anything. I would think that next year, there would be a small budget put together for it. So this year, depending on, what would come in front of it, if of course it was a road project.
Issue or something like that.
Yeah,
then
it would be.
Yes, that's what I want to just clarify.
Side of town.
Yeah.
But as far as, just supplies or office type thing.
I'm thinking like if the RSMS system needs an update, I think are you talking about
We would come up with that out of
Yeah.
like we did before. We come out of
the office budget?
the office
Okay,
budget.
all right. Well, that's what I was just wanting. We just want to clarify that because I'm sure it'll be brought up. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Dave Winchell, Jr. Looking at, okay, Section 2B, and then you look back to Section 3, Regulations B. They kind of contradict themselves.
Section 2 under duties, you mean?
Yeah.
Bridges coordinates.
Well, it would be voted on as a committee to allow the committee member to speak on behalf.
So they're only allowed...
Already approval of the road committee meeting, so you would come together and decide on who's going to talk to the town in regards to what and vote on it, and that person would then go speak on behalf of the...
Now, an issue I have with Section section 2D, okay? Now, the issue that I have with this here is, okay, it's saying the person, say a person gets elected at town meeting, the day they get elected, and then a week on, June 22nd this year, 23rd, okay? And then a week later, they resign, okay? Then this person that the board puts on as, to take over the spot gets a 3-year term. Instead of doing that, because what I've seen happen in the past, not saying this board or whatever, but when people on committees start bailing, because the road committees had like, I don't know, a zillion people bail, and before you know it, the committee is full of appointed people. Okay, so what I find an issue with this is that can continue happening, and people can get pushed out the door, and then say there's, not you guys, but say there's a board that has an agenda, and they can say, okay, well, we're gonna start putting our people on there, okay? I believe that what we should be doing is appointing a person for the period until the next town meeting where they can be voted in then. That way they don't have that issue where, theoretically at the end of the...
Can you just clarify when are you talking about?
D
again?
on section 2.
Section 2 of duties?
Yeah, we'll make up the remainder of the...
RSMS?
Oh, is it that one there? Oh, no.
think so.
Wrong one.
right.
I'm sorry about that. I circled the wrong one.
Is it
Where am I?
vacancies?
The vacancies.
Oh, okay.
I'm on vacancies, sorry about that.
So which was the,
So you're nervous that 5 people are gonna quit?
Well, when I was
Okay, and then
road
get-
commissioner, we had like 4 people quit on that committee within a 2-month period. And then before you know it, and I can name them all off if you want, but I don't feel that's necessary at this point. I'm just looking at the future, okay? So say you get a person on that committee that makes it almost impossible to meet with, okay? And people start dropping like flies, okay? And the select board just start putting their own people on there for 2 or 3 year terms. I don't know why we couldn't just
do it until,
tell that next town meeting and give them make sure that town, that's who they want there. Because at that point there, they're not elected officials anymore, they're appointed. You know what I'm saying? So there's no reason why we couldn't do that.
okay,
I mean, that just makes it,
writing it down, sorry.
Yeah, you'd have to do it, but then have them fulfill the term that was expired, the term that the person left.
But it's still-
So you just gotta make sure we keep it at the,
exactly.
staggered,
Exactly.
so-
So, if it's a 1 year or whatever, but, it's no different than the road commissioner spot. You
Right.
put in a temporary guy there until the next thing. That way there, the town of Acton actually has a say on who's actually on these committees,
Right.
not you guys.
not a bad
or
idea.
whoever.
yeah.
Right. No, that's a good idea, actually.
I've seen it in the future where, people got on the committee and bam, 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 everybody starts quitting like
Yeah.
in the
It's a
past.
pretty stable, very stable board, right, stable committee right now, so.
But not saying it's gonna be, this ordinance is supposed to be for the future.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, and if we have these issues again,
Yep.
and people start going rogue or whatever, at least the people that are on the committee are voted on by town floor, not the 3 people on this board.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
So,
Yeah, make a note on that one.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
figure out how to do it.
Couple comments. Tom Gore, and I'd like to second the suggestion that David made. I think it's well worth considering.
Valid one.
And I would like to see a section H added to this that would allow the committee to undertake any job requested of the town meeting. This is a committee of the town meeting, okay, and it's not clear in there that the town meeting has the authority to request the committee to do something. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is in section 3A. The committee has no purchasing authority without the approval of a majority of the Board of Selectmen. That is, I would think we would want to say the town meeting. In other words, I think if the committee had the need to spend some money, that it should be authorized by the town meeting, and then the selectmen, when they're approving the treasurer's warrant, have the authority to, have certain authority to exercise over that expenditure. That doesn't need to be said in there just that way. Okay? Question?
That was 3A.
That was 3A, right.
Right, that's good.
Delete Board of Selectmen and insert town meeting.
Well, the only issue with that is
Would we have to do a special?
when we have something like the RSMS project going on, we'd hate to have to wait a whole year to get the system upgraded.
No, you don't have to wait the whole year to get, you build in a budget for this committee if it has a job that needs to expend some money, and then you folks, when you sign the treasurer's warrant, make the determination if it was spent appropriately. That's your job.
Yeah, I can see both sides on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Paul?
Paul Poyant. So some of this is kind of on the picky side, but of course, if not now, then when? So first of all, I concur with the fact that we want to try to defer to town meeting where possible for replacing folks back on the committee. That's how the Warrant and Finance is currently doing it, and it looks like a lot of this is taken from the Warrant and Finance ordinance. On that note, in Article 2, Section 1, first paragraph, committee will be formed, I think, of 7 people would make more sense than with, but do what you will. I note that there are 5 members that are from the public at large, and that there are 3-year terms. So a little fancy division shows that it's not quite even, so it would probably be helpful, especially in an environment where the town clerk is going to have to figure out what's going to happen at town meeting when things have happened in the course of the year, how best to restore the normal order of things back on the committee. So it would be helpful to know how those 5 members, how those terms are staggered somewhere. And that is one of the current deficiencies of the Warrant and Finance ordinance, that it
To see it in
states how to replace, and it does divide evenly, but if you miss somebody at a town meeting, it's hard to figure out how to restore order again to the normal mix of the committee.
Okay.
I think that's why we wanted to replace the vacancies with the original term instead of going to town meeting, because when they get elected at town meeting, then people think it's for the 3-year term.
Right,
It
well,
should be
there is that whole...
the staggering of,
There is that whole thing about really putting power onto the selectmen where we perhaps should be putting it more on town meeting, but, so, you know, that advantage develops a disadvantage in the terms of having to be very specific about what the formation of the committee is, what the expiration dates are, what a normal committee looks like. And frankly, having 5 members with a 3-year term, it's going to be weird. You know, you're going to have 2-2-1,
well,
presumably.
if you continue to read on, it talks about the 2 members, there are 2 members that are currently on the board, they would finish their term,
Right.
and then the stagger, that's where
But you're not going to be electing the same number of members each year, is what I'm saying.
Right, oh, yes, correct.
It's weird. Next paragraph in the same section, within 30 days of the town meeting, if one assumes that the first meeting is after the town meeting, then yeah, you don't have to make any changes here, but one could assume that the first meeting is at the first of the year. Who knows? So within 30 days after the town meeting would probably be very much clearer than what this says.
After instead
Because you could
of.
do it within 30 days before the town meeting. Sure, no problem. It's according to the ordinance.
After.
The next one, I think, is Section G on the next page. You may want to change preformed to performed, because it doesn't make much sense as it is.
Oh,
Other duties to be.
And then sections 4, 5, 6, I won't be very specific, but there's a bunch of these line items here that are arguably sentences that do not have periods.
okay.
And that's enough nitpicking for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. See about.
Okay.
I know I would like to continue the nitpicking. Mr. Gore said, Section 3 regulations, the committee has no purchasing authority without approval from the majority of the Board of Selectmen. And on page 1, on the introduction, Section 3 purpose, the road committee is an advisory board only. So,
Right.
Well, what has happened in the past is committee members had purchased things to go with the system and then, or even they had purchased things and wanted to be reimbursed and we didn't have a line for that. So we wanted to state up front, you're not allowed to purchase anything without a permission, is all. They were,
again, right here it says they're an advisory board only, but not.
sometimes you have to put it in writing. So they don't go buy things and expect reimbursement.
Anyone else?
Dennis Long. I would prefer to see this vote at town meeting and not up here on the day of the election. It'd give it a better chance to debate. But with that being said, I would like to thank the selectmen and the road committee and the road commissioner for helping put this stuff together. I think it's well needed, and hopefully from here on out, everything will be laid out clear, and it will save a lot of problems in the future. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How you doing? Bob Berland? Did we just write this up today?
No.
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 Is there a reason why it hasn't been released? Why is it
We've
today?
been over this, we've had meetings.
released previous drafts. We would just,
So we're talking about this one, right, this draft?
yeah, not a lot has changed from the previous drafts.
But it is different. Is there a reason why you don't release it ahead of time? That's all I want to know.
The time to get it
Because
finished
we've been
up?
drafting it.
Yeah.
We've
So you
we've
just
already
wrote
had-
it today, then?
We had a public hearing.
Yeah?
It's very similar.
Yep,
I
people
mean,
make
there's a-
suggestions, so then we added
Yep.
in.
Took your suggestions from the public hearing, yeah.
Again, I didn't know that, though. I wouldn't know that unless I saw this. Regardless of that. The other thing is this is just an advisory committee, am I correct?
Right.
So if you guys want to accept what the committee is telling you, then you accept it, correct? And if you don't accept it, then you don't want to do anything with it.
It's not, it's working together with the selectmen and the road commission.
Right, but if it's an issue that the selectmen doesn't agree with the committee, because it's just an advisory committee, then they're not going to act on it. My point is that it's just an advisory committee. You guys have all the control as far as what gets done on the roads and stuff. You have to vote on that, am I correct?
Yep.
Okay, so if you were to appoint people to promote your agenda, I mean,
What are you
couldn't you
getting
just...
at?
Well, what I'm getting at is that you wouldn't need, it doesn't matter whether people are appointed or not, or elected at the town meeting when someone resigns, because if you wanted to pursue your agenda, you could pursue your agenda
Why
anyways
do you
without the
assume
committee.
everyone is mean and has an agenda?
I don't. That's
Okay.
what, this is what Dave said.
Okay.
Dave said that if you guys appointed, you or another select
I just
committee-
hate to think that
correct, Dave?
everybody's out here to get each other.
But I mean, you guys make the ultimate decisions, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anybody's has an agenda.
We're trying to, I don't
Somebody
know what
has
you're
to make
getting
it,
at.
you know?
Right, and I think you
Yeah.
guys should make it. I mean, my point is that it's just an advisory committee.
Right.
If
Right, and then they're gonna come
a
to us.
select board had an agenda, then they would work on their agenda. They don't necessarily have to take it from the advisory committee, which is the road committee. That's my only point. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with appointing somebody for a full term if they resign.
Okay,
That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
all right.
Thank you.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of that. You know, if we appoint to the end of the term, then that's clean, it's, you know, it's gone. But like Dave says, if something happens and the board falls apart and we have to continually appoint people, you know, yeah, I can understand, I can see what Dave says. So I have no problem if we change it to the, next town meeting. So,
Tom Gore again. One other comment. I have advocated for some time that this committee have the right to make a recommendation on the warrant of any article affecting the operation of the roads, and give it the same authority and representation on the floor of the town meeting as Warrant and Finance gets. Okay? Warrant and Finance makes its recommendation. I think this committee should have the right to make a recommendation with respect to any article that affects the roads. Thank you.
I mean, they can get up at town floor like anybody can and, express their thoughts on any particular item.
Now, Dave Winchell again. On the budget, why, I would think that any committee, you got the cemetery committee, the forestry and all that, all these committees, I would think before town meeting, I don't know if the warrant has been set yet or not.
It has.
Okay, well, in the future, I would think that the committee would you would allot them an allotment of money, just like any other committee.
Yep.
For their secretarial services or whatever, obviously have to be approved by you guys. That way there, you don't have to worry about, I mean, back when I was road commissioner, you guys tried taking it out of my budget at the time and Scott's budget. You don't have to worry about that. They have their own little pot there they can take from and they can do whatever they need be with that. On the idea that, the reason why I made the suggestion that we go to town meeting is because the people at town meeting vote these people in.
Right.
Now, when I was road commissioner, in one election period, 4 people quit the committee. So at that point, that whole road committee turned to a different committee, just like that, because of people who were appointed onto it. So unfortunately, at town floor, everybody that voted in those people to be on that committee weren't. The majority of them weren't. So either way you look at it, you guys have the power to do whatever you need to do. Advisory committee, that's the way I always believed it was back when I was road commissioner. That's what it was supposed to have been, and then it turned into something different. And I do believe this is a good idea. The unfortunate thing is I look at this and I don't see anything on here that gives a consequence if, say, a road committee member goes rogue and starts doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing, which has happened a few times in the past. The unfortunate part about this is you could write all this stuff down, and then next thing you know, we have road committee members going to the next gravel pit and telling people they got bids or this and that, and calling up the state engineers on you when you're supposed to be doing it. And so there's nothing here saying, okay, what are we gonna do about this
So
problem?
you feel there should be some consequences? put in
There's
here?
gotta be a
Well,
consequence.
I think we actually have that now, but it's not in this policy. We now have an ethics policy.
Yes.
Okay,
It
so,
covers every
but the
board.
problem is they're elected,
So,
so you can't get rid of them.
well,
So that's the problem, man. I understand what you're doing here is a good thing. It's even with the road commissioner policy. It's great that we have a policy, what they're supposed to do. But if they don't do it,
Yep.
there's nothing you can do about it. It really, all it does is really just give you a guideline when the next guy runs for road commissioner, what his job's supposed to be.
Yep.
But as long as that we can, because I'm more worried about the road committee ordinance myself. And obviously, everybody in this room knows what my feelings about the road committee. But at the same time, if this is gonna work, there has to be a consequence. And I just don't see, I don't believe this is gonna be followed. And this is gonna be an issue again without a consequence.
thank you. I mean, I'd like to believe we have good people on the board and we'll follow through with what we have here, so. Anyone else? Dennis?
Dennis Long, the whole purpose, at least what I've been following this, is try to learn about mistakes that we've all made in the past, and hopefully we won't make so many in the future. And I still think it's very important to have this ordinance so the town can run a lot smoother than it has in the last 5-6 years. And I'm not too worried about what happened yesterday. I'm more interested in what happens tomorrow. So,
Move
Thank you.
forward.
Thank you.
I mean, no ordinance that we have, I don't care which one it is, it's not perfect, but, you know, this is a good start, and it's more than a start, it's right into it. Okay. Thanks.
Hi, Leslie Berland, Road Committee Acting Chair. Actually, I'm speaking as a citizen because the Road Committee did not take a vote on these ordinances. I initially thought that we didn't need the ordinance, and I've slowly been changing my mind on it. First of all, because as we worked on it, we opened up the lines of communication that were pretty much non-existent. So I think that just in that, we've made a tremendous amount of progress in working together. And it's my hope that, with this ordinance and then with the ground that we've already covered, that we can continue down that path of communication and collaboration rather than fighting each other. Because that's not getting us anywhere, and
Right.
we're going to get a lot further by working together.
Definitely.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, no, well said. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm going to end the one on the road committee ordinance, and we'll move on to the road commissioner ordinance. Did that get passed out, or is it still sitting?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, road commissioner ordinance, Town of Acton, Maine.
Did everybody get a copy?
You got 'em?
How do we go from 2 pages to 3?
It was always 3.
Okay.
It's a little short. Well, she put spaces in too.
Okay. You all set? Go right ahead if you want to start in.
Okay, Road Commissioner Ordinance, Town of Acton, Maine, Introduction, Section 1 Authority. This ordinance is adopted pursuant to the authority granted in 30A MRSA, Section 3001 and 3002, and granted in 23 MRSA, Section 2701 to 2705. Section 2, Purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to clarify the duties and responsibilities of the road commissioner for the town of Acton, Maine. Section 3, Definitions. Emergency. An emergency is defined as any incident or occurrence which could immediately endanger life and/or property. Do you want to go?
Article 2, General Provisions, Section 1, Election and Term of Office. The position of the road commissioner shall be filled by public election at the annual municipal election. The term of office shall be for the period of 3 years. This ordinance applies to each road commissioner elected in each district for the town of Acton. Section 2, Job Responsibilities. A, the road commissioner will be in charge of repairs of all town roads, townways, and town bridges within the town under the direction of the majority of the selectmen. 23 MRSA 2701. B, the road commissioner shall be bonded to the satisfaction of the selectmen and treasurer. 23 MRSA 2701. C, the road commissioner shall be responsible to the selectmen for the expenditures of money and the discharge of his or her general duties, and shall submit at least monthly statements of expenditures and receive no money from the treasury except on order of the selectmen. 23 MRSA 2701. D, the road commissioner has the authority to employ such necessary personnel and equipment and purchase such materials for the repair of town roads, townways, and town bridges. The road commissioner must plan ahead and discuss repairs, maintenance, and other projects with the selectmen. This includes developing a line item budget, work scheduling, detailing the work to be done, a cost estimate for the work, and the location of the work project. The schedule will be adhered to accept it will be adhered to except in an emergency situation such as snowstorms and other unpredictable occurrences. All materials must be purchased in accordance with the Acton purchasing policy. F, in case of sudden injury to town ways, town roads, or town bridges, the road commissioner must, without delay, repair them. In these emergency cases, prior approval from the selectmen is not required. However, the road commissioner must file a detailed report within 3 business days after the emergency repair is completed. G, the road commissioner shall inspect all town roads, town ways, and town bridges each year and report to the selectmen and the road committee the status of any needing repairs as of November 1st of each year. When any town road or town way is blocked or encumbered with snow or ice, the road commissioner will remove the snow or ice in a manner directed by the selectmen. 23 MRSA 3201, the road commissioner will also direct removal of brush and loose obstructions from the town roads and townways that impede travel. I, the road commissioner shall participate in the budget process for determining appropriations for the coming year. The road commissioner shall also submit an annual report to be included in the town annual report no later than September 1st of each year. J, the road commissioner shall maintain a complete and detailed maintenance log on all town equipment used for road maintenance and will submit these to the selectmen for yearly review. K, the road commissioner shall document, approve, and sign all bills and specify to what project or equipment these bills are charged. L, the road commissioner and all employees of their department, both full and part-time, shall maintain and sign weekly time cards for all hours worked for the town. The road commissioner's employees shall work only those hours necessary to maintain town roads, townways, and town bridges and the equipment required by these guidelines. M, the use of town vehicles or equipment on statutory private ways, public easements, is prohibited, except with the approval of a majority of the selectmen. The use of town equipment for private purpose is prohibited. Town-owned equipment shall be used before use of private equipment. N, if a majority of the selectmen determine that a condition exists which creates a hazard and renders a way unsafe for motor vehicle traffic, the board will give the road commissioner written notice of the condition and order the road commissioner to remedy the situation within a 24-hour period. If the road commissioner fails to act as directed, a majority of the selectmen may take steps necessary to eliminate the hazard. 23 MRSA 2701. O, the road commissioner and all employees of their department, both full and part-time, shall comply with all provisions of the Acton personnel policy and drug policy. P, the road commissioner must maintain public roads. The road commissioner must keep townways maintained so as to be safe and convenient for motor vehicle travel. 23 MRSA 3651, including but not limiting to the following. Want to read, Elise? I need a drink.
Want me to keep going?
Go ahead.
We're on P number 1.
Removal of roadside brush, trees, and grass that pose any road safety problems. Removal of snow and ice in the townway within a reasonable period of time. This includes removal from the state aid highways and prevention of damage to private water supplies as a result of construction, reconstruction, or maintenance of public highways. Q, if the town must install drains, ditches, and culverts to maintain the road in a safe and convenient status, the road commissioner shall maintain said drains, ditches, and culverts. R, if the town installs culverts where private driveways connect to a townway pursuant to the grant of the landowner's application for permit, the road commissioner shall maintain said culverts. To the extent required by 32 MRSA, Section 1254, licensed professional engineer is required for any public works project exceeding cost of $100,000 or if work creates undue risk to public safety or welfare. T, urban compact municipalities must maintain roads within the compact area. U, the road commissioner shall have all other duties and responsibilities under the Maine revised statutes annotated, including but not limited to all these sections that are listed, incorporated herein. If the voting body of the town of Acton adopts the road committee ordinance dated 5/14 2019 at the June 18th, 2018 election. The road commissioners shall be voting members of the said committee and must adhere to the best of their abilities. Article 3, legal status. Section 1, effective date. This ordinance shall take effective upon approval by secret ballot on June 18th, 2019, and shall supersede any and all previously adopted documents regarding the road commissioner. Any additional changes must be presented to the town body at annual town meeting. Section 2, severability. In the event any portion of this ordinance is declared invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining portion shall continue in full force and effect. Section 3, interpretation. Interpretation of words, phrases, or specific provisions of this ordinance shall be the responsibility of the selectmen.
Okay, thank you. All the MRSA and state statutes have been looked at by our attorney. He's looked over all these, and they're all deemed to be correct. So, we have any from the public? A comment?
Dave Mitchell. At the last meeting we had on this here, we discussed the, let's see here, section, well, the M anyways.
I think you're talking about the date. Sorry, I'll look. I'll wait to listen.
Okay, whereas
Okay, go
talk
ahead.
about town-owned equipment shall be used before use of private equipment. I thought we were talking about striking that out.
We
because-
talked about it.
Because the problem you have with that is if you, okay, so we got 2 town sanders in town, right?
Right.
So you put that town sander on a private individual's truck. Now, I always said, and I did it, but you put that town sander on a private individual's truck, okay, and something happens, he rolls the truck over, who's liable for it? Second of all, if I go and purchase a truck to plow for the town of Acton, okay, as a road commissioner, and it comes furnished with one, for me to take that off, okay, because unfortunately, when I had the town sander on, the majority of the maintenance I just did it.
Right.
Because it was hooked to my truck, I put the hydraulic lines to it, everything else, okay? I think only once in the 9 years of being road commissioner, I charged for any work, that was when we put the new grates on it. So what you're doing by leaving that in there is you're gonna be telling the road commissioner that, because there's certain individuals that see that sander sitting down there in the yard down there and says, well, I want you to pull that sander out of that truck, and I want that one in there. So we can save $10 an hour.
Right.
Okay? So it becomes a quagmire. If you have a town piece of equipment in a private individual's truck, okay, that becomes a liability issue at that point. Then what happens is, when that town piece of equipment breaks down, that truck isn't out working anymore, okay? If it's his stuff, his junk that's breaking down, it's not so bad. When it's the town's junk breaking down, then it's an issue.
Yep.
I don't believe that's something there that needs to be in there. I think all that does create issues. If we're gonna get into buying and equipment and all that, we buy a truck with a sander in it and you run it, okay? That just creates an issue at the end of the day. Just telling from experience, plus, what else usually happens? When you have that town sander in that truck, okay, and then you're going down to Central to get tires on your truck, you're leaving town with it, people see that thing running around all over the place, all it does is give a bad perception of where's that sander going.
Assumptions start to happen.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
better off
okay.
just deleting the
Yeah.
issue.
Right.
Period.
True, okay.
And there was another one here I had, okay, S. When you read this, okay, this looks expensive to me, because when you say $100,000
Yep.
for a project, now, I can say, okay, the project's gonna cost you 50 grand, the hot top is separate, okay? But we got a lot of smart people that are gonna come and say, well, wait a minute, this project was 100,000 with the hot top, so before we know, we're engineering every project we're doing that has to do with hot top, okay? So,
did
there should be a way here, we should be excluding pavement or whatever.
We had
okay?
talked about that.
Yeah.
We did look up, or Jennifer looked up, the 23 MRSA tonight.
Yeah.
And she said that that is referenced to the $100,000. So you probably could pull out the hot top out of it, but
Because every project you're gonna do, if you do a mile of road,
any hot top, it's gonna be over 100,000.
so before you know it, because when I was road commissioner, we talked about, because the state says, oh, you need to have a guy on site taking temperature, cores, and no town does that.
No.
Only the state does that, okay? So what I did is I called around to all the paving guys that put bids in for us and said, what's it gonna do to our cost and pavement? And he was telling me it was gonna drive our costs up 15%, it was gonna do this, do that, and which we've never done before. But if the right person looks at that and goes, well, if we're gonna do New Bridge Road's gonna be $140,000 to shim and overlay that road, then theoretically, we should have an engineer there coring it, doing this, doing that, which is a waste of money.
True.
Okay, that's why I'm saying you're better off excluding the hot top out of that. Because this is for prepping, creating, fixing an issue.
I'm just going to
like
play
a bridge or
devil's
something like
advocate.
that. What's that?
I'm just going to play devil's advocate and
Okay.
ask if we're going to spend $100,000 on a hot top project such as New Bridge, wouldn't
Yeah.
it make sense to do it right the first time with an engineer?
All the
I mean,
engineer's gonna
otherwise-
do is gonna go in there and take temperatures and this and that. If you're gonna redo the whole road, and you're gonna go and do it with an engineer, the town of Acton doesn't have that kind of money, okay? You bring an engineer into a site like, into a project like that, and you might get one road done every 3 years, if that's the case. When you bring an engineer into a project like that, that's why you're supposed to elect road commissioners that are supposed to be qualified for the job, okay? But, not saying these guys aren't, I'm just saying that's why we do this, okay? But when you bring in an engineer, you're gonna drive your cost up so much, okay? And we're already behind, way behind, okay? And I just feel that the way the wording is on this article, it just sets you up for failure, because the right person will say, hey, we're supposed to have an engineer on that, because it's $102,000 for hot top, for a shim and overlay, which is just general maintenance at that point. You understand what I'm saying? I do understand what you're saying. You're like
Right,
on a
'cause
bridge or anything like that, you need that. But on a general overlay, if you're gonna do a mile and a half of the Hopper Road, and you're just gonna do a shim and overlay, I'm just telling you, you guys might figure this out. Maybe the road committee and everybody else right now knows what we're talking about. But 10 years down the road, oh, well, we haven't been engineering this and we've been doing it all wrong in the first place. You're just setting yourself up for failure.
I think I can help you, David, understand this. From a professional engineer's point of view, when he comes on site and looks at a road, he's going to want it to be to a standard, a recognized standard. That means if he's going to do New Bridge Road and sign off on it, he's going to want to know that the base is good, okay?
Right.
None of our roads in town are going to make that criteria, and you're going to cost you an awful lot of money to get there. I think David's point has merit in this case. Don't ask for an engineer unless you want the job done in accordance with current standards thoroughly. And this goes to the issue that you had with the library over there. Remember when you wanted to support the floor? And you asked me to come in and look at it, and I backed off and I said, talk to Pat, he's already done something for you. He can do that. I could not as a professional engineer because I put myself in an exposed position. I would have to say, you have to bring this up to code, okay? And that's the issue that David is dealing with here.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep, we'll relook at that.
Dennis Long. As far as the equipment, I have said publicly why I wanted that in there. And I have been through this before, and the town's been through this before. If you have a piece of equipment that belongs to somebody and you attach it to your vehicle, then you're liable, because it's attached to your vehicle. So the town has been through this before, when you used to run those Bryant Sanders, they were over width, and somebody would run into it, and the person that owned the truck, insurance is one they had to pay. And as far as the sander, say you're going to Sanford, we don't have the town of Acton's name on those. So I don't think that's really a big deal. As far as maintenance of these things, the town is always paid to maintain their own equipment and buy the materials to maintain them. If somebody chooses not to charge for their time doing it, that's up to them. The $10 an hour, everybody knows that I'm the one that has been sputtering about that when it comes to the Sanders. We don't know where we're going yet with the road department. We don't know what we're going to have for equipment. I have said for a long time is, for example, would be, we had talked about the town buying a loader. We waste $20,000 a year on a loader. I would hate to think that if we did buy one, to save the town some money, over a period of 10 years or 20 years, that we would buy that, and because the road commissioner wants to make some money with their own loader, that our loader would just sit there. I think what you've done here is very good. It's a start. Things can be amended later. They can be changed. Most of this is verbatim of state law.
Right.
But what you get by doing this is twofold. You have the state law that you know you can fall on, and you also have the local law. So, and lots of times it's easier to follow the local than it is the state, because we usually know when our stuff gets changed. And we have had issues in the past with, I've always said the selectmen have the authority to do things, and it's always been a quagmire. And this here lays everything out. Everybody knows going in what it is, and we can have the discussion on town equipment, what we're going to pay for, what we're not going to pay for, and the selectmen do have some flexibility in that aspect too, you know what I mean? For example, we have a front runner rate that hasn't been used for years. We used to use it all the time, but there's more money if you use a grader than is a front runner rate, so we use the grader instead. That's just my personal opinion, and again, I'd like to thank you for what you've put up here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Dave Langley, District 1. Just real quick, going back to S, as David Winchell had mentioned, we had discussed that at previous meetings of doing something with that 100,000. You know, my thoughts, I could see us, David made a good point up there on New Bridge Road. I mean, that's watershed, we have water on both sides, swamp, whatever. And if we were to get a grant like that, I think it's too, putting that in there, it just makes it too tight on a road project. And Selectman Walsh, you said that even paving, you see the numbers, you know what we're looking at. So really need to address that and do something with that, because right now the board understands that, the road, you know, people understand that right now, but in a few years, as things change, personalities change, we could get ourselves backed into a corner and be held to that. And as Mr. Gore had said, the cost, and Mr. Winchell also said the cost of it, and I deal with it every day, is going to drive it through, and we're not going to gain the footage we need in our roads to get these back up, because we're going to just spend it on engineering costs. So that's my thought on S. Hopefully we'll be able to take care of that. Let's jump back to the page to M. It says, the use of town vehicles, equipment on private ways, except for the approval of the majority of the selectmen. I'd like to see that also changed to the fire department, the fire chief, or the deputy, or the officer that that is on duty, or the sheriff's department. Sometimes we do have rescue calls where you've got a $300,000 rescue sitting on a private road, and we struggle to find a private sander or impasse. It's been good. If a town truck's around, we communicate, and we'll do what we need to do
So
to,
what would you like added into it?
let's see,
Approval of selectmen and who?
the fire chief,
chief.
or officer on duty at the fire department. Now that we're running per diem shifts, we always have there's always an officer that's around, and probably ought to, sometimes the sheriff's department, our own sheriff officer, Dan, that sometimes gets into predicaments and things like that there, if we can help him out. It just benefits our investment that we have in those three
You
departments.
could add something to do with emergency situations.
Exactly, yep, just so, again, everybody understands this right now, but in a few years, we don't know, again, we don't want to get ourselves backed into a corner, so.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks. Anyone else?
Paul Poyant, most of this is picky, of course.
Okay. Vicky is good.
Okay, so I, last sentence, no later than,
Got that.
Yep.
Got that quick.
N, as in Nancy, end of the first line, renders, not rends.
Yes.
S, assuming this stays, a licensed professional engineer and exceeding a cost of $100,000. And T, is Acton an urban compact municipality? And if not, why is T there? And if so, might be nice to point out that Acton is a urban compact municipality.
We'll have to
Haven't
ask,
heard the
because I
term
think we had
before.
tried to take it out and the lawyer had said to put it back in.
Really?
There's a reason behind it, and I'd like to know what it is myself.
Well, how about adding another line that says Acton is or is not an
Okay.
urban
Yep.
compact municipality?
Yep.
So it's clear that it's legally needed there because you can't take it out, but maybe to make it a little more clear whether Acton falls under this clause or not.
Yep,
All right.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Paul. Anyone else? Tom?
Laura, again, this is an item that I brought up last time, I believe, in definitions. The word immediately is included in there, and that should be imminent, okay? I've been through this a number of times, have a lot of experience with it in court, and it is impossible to predict an immediate hazard. And what the meaning of imminent is that it is unpredictable. Okay, from a legal point of view, you're looking at a situation that is unpredictable and therefore presents a hazard. When engineers look at things, you can either predict its behavior or you can't. If you can't, then you have an unpredictable situation, a possible imminent hazard, okay? So,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This is all very good. I mean, both us and the road committee and the commissioners can't think of everything, so this is great input, so. Anyone else? Going once, going twice?
Bob Berlin, are you going to make changes to either one of these ordinances?
We're gonna look at them and discuss the changes,
Yep.
the possible changes.
So do you discuss that in
No.
private, or is there going to be another meeting?
We'll probably
Might be at
discuss it
the-
tomorrow night.
The workshop at 4.
Yeah, we have
Yep.
a workshop at 4, so.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
And if you make any changes, will it be dated differently? Is that, if I
It'll
understand
be
it?
dated tomorrow.
Right.
So when they post it before the election, before the vote,
Yes,
we'll know that there's been changes made to it?
yep.
Yes.
And we'll
Thank you.
talk,
What's that?
I said we'd talk about it tomorrow night in our meeting, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I'll go home and
Look at it. I wrote,
order the suggested changes so that we have some order to the discussion.
okay.
Yeah, an interesting point raised. So this is a public hearing.
Yes,
Obviously, there's going to be some changes, because otherwise, why are we sitting here flapping our gums?
Right.
But I suppose if it's only the changes that were discussed here on a minutia level, then I would assume we wouldn't need another public hearing. Even if, we don't know right now whether you're going to amend or omit some of the more substantial things that were discussed tonight, depending on what happens there, would there be a force of another public hearing, or would whatever's discussed tomorrow at the public warrant and finance, selectmen's meeting, got warrant and finance on the brain, selectmen's meeting, would that be sufficient from a legal standpoint to inform the people? Plus, of course, this is going to be posted to the website, in its final form. But, what, are we going to have to be forced to another public hearing depending on the scope of any further changes or not? And I know that time is running short here, so
Right. Yeah, it's getting
it's a
really,
relevant
really
question.
close. We'll find out if we have to have another public hearing, but my guess would be with what changes we've discussed, I don't think we'd have to, as long as we've got it out and it's, out for the public to see on the website, here at the town hall and whatnot, so.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll discuss the possible changes in the workshop, come out here, vote on the changes, and then,
That's it.
yeah, Jennifer will,
Then you'll have an ordinance to vote on.
yeah.
So, yep. Okay, anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing on the road commissioner one. So we've gone over both of them. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and thank everyone for all the good comments and whatnot that we put in this, so. Did you have some comment? Are you? No. Okay. I just don't want to miss anybody, that's all. So.
First out.
Okay, so with that,
Another one Wednesday night,
another public
For the
hearing?
road, yeah, we
Road
do.
ordinance,
For the road ordinance. Yeah.
yeah, Wednesday.
Okay.
That's not published anywhere.
It's not,
Yes, it is, it's on the fire station. Wait, what's on the fire station? Yeah, it's on the fire station.
Yeah.
I looked it up, it's not published on your meeting schedule.
okay, we'll look into that.
It's on the fire station, so.
We'll look into that. So thank you, everyone.
All right, we'll check
We
it
appreciate
tonight.
it.
Yeah,
Have a good
thanks.
night.